strolling along, we are in Queen of Heaven Cemetery. Queen of Heaven is located in Hillside, Illinois, which is directly across the street from Mount Carmel Cemetery. To get things underway, we are coming up to the gravesite of Mad Sam DeStefano. Mad Sam was born on September 13th of 1909 and died on April 14th of 1973. He is located in Section 20, Lot 53, Block 17 in Grave 3 of the cemetery. DeStefano was an Italian-American mafioso who became one of the Chicago outfit's most notorious loan sharks and sociopathic killers. Chicago-based FBI agent William F. Romer Jr. considered DeStefano to be one of the worst torture murderers in the history of the United States. The outfit used the mentally unstable and sadistic DeStefano for the torture murders of Leo Foreman and Arthur Adler, not to mention the murder of DeStefano's own brother Michael. Keep in mind, due to DeStefano's deranged mental state and erratic behavior, the outfit never let him become a made member. At least one outfit insider, Charles Grimaldi, claimed that DeStefano was a devil worshipper. Whether this is true or not remains to be seen. DeStefano was born into a typical law-abiding family in the city of Strader, Illinois, which is located between Peoria and Chicago. His parents, Samuel Sr. and Rosalie, were born in Italy and immigrated to the United States sometime around 1903. As a teenager, young Sam and his family eventually moved to Chicago's Little Italy section. One thing I would like to point out, DeStefano suffered from malignant narcissism, and in 1927, at the age of 18, was convicted of rape and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Released from prison in 1930, DeStefano joined the notorious 42 Gang, which was an infamous Chicago street gang led by future outfit boss Sam Giancana. On a side note, many Chicago hoodlum in the early years got their start with the 42 Gang. A few forms of criminal thuggery DeStefano eventually became involved with included bootlegging and gambling. In 1932, he was wounded during a grocery store robbery. In 1934, DeStefano was convicted of robbing a bank in New Lisbon, Wisconsin. After DeStefano was convicted of the New Lisbon robbery, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Released in 1944, he returned to prison in 1947 for selling counterfeit sugar ration stamps. While incarcerated in Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary in the 1940s, DeStefano met rising outfit members Paul Ricca and Louis Campagna. As 1947 was coming to a close, DeStefano was released from prison and obtained a civil service job in Chicago as a garbage dump foreman. In 1952, city officials discovered that DeStefano had omitted his criminal record from the civil service application. However, they chose not to prosecute him. During the early 1950s, DeStefano became one of the first loan shark operators in Chicago. Using the stolen money from his days as a bank robber, DeStefano began investing in Chicago real estate. He bought a 24-suite apartment building and used the rent money collected from tenants as legitimate income to bribe local aldermen and other politicians. By the mid-1950s, DeStefano's influence extended to city officials, prominent judges, and law enforcement officers. DeStefano would brag that there wasn't a case that he couldn't fix, and he began offering his services accordingly. His fees ranged from $800 for fixing a robbery case up to $1,500 for an assault case. DeStefano allegedly fixed a first-degree murder case for a mere $20,000. DeStefano's arrangements became so routine that corrupt police officers on the take would escort suspects to DeStefano's house. After DeStefano paid off the cops, the suspects would literally be put on the juice to DeStefano in exchange for his assistance. By the early 1960s, DeStefano was a leading loan shark for the outfit. DeStefano's loan shark victims included politicians, lawyers, and small-time criminals. By the end of the decade, DeStefano was charging 20 to 25% a week and interest. DeStefano would accept very high-risk debitors, such as drug addicts or businessmen who had already defaulted on previous debits. The reason was simple. DeStefano seriously enjoyed it when debitors didn't pay on time. He could then bring them to his soundproof torture chamber he built in the basement of his home. It is noted and stated that other gangsters have mentioned that the sadistic DeStefano would actually foam from the mouth while torturing his victims. From time to time, DeStefano would also kill debitors who owed him small sums of money, just to scare the other debitors into paying their bigger debits. Under normal circumstances, the outfit would have distanced itself from DeStefano due to his sadistic and insane behavior. However, the bosses tolerated DeStefano because he earned them a great deal of money. DeStefano was such a successful earner that it is noted that Giancana and Tony Accardo invested some of their own money in DeStefano's loansharking operations. In 1955, outfit underboss Sam Giancana allegedly ordered DeStefano and his brother Mario to murder their younger brother Michael, who was a mob wannabe and alleged drug addict. On September 27th of 1955, Michael's badly decomposed body was found in the trunk of a car parked in a West Side neighborhood. He had been shot multiple times. When the police questioned DeStefano about the murder of his brother, he allegedly began laughing in an uncontrollable manner. The police later released DeStefano due to his political influence and lack of evidence. Neither he nor his brother Mario were charged in Michael's murder. Continuing on, in 1961, the outfit mistakenly suspected that enforcer and loan shark William Action Jackson had become an FBI informant. This was due in part because someone affiliated with the Chicago outfit spotted Action Jackson meeting with the FBI in Milwaukee. After the hit on Jackson was thus decided, he was grabbed off the street and taken to a meatpacking plant on Chicago's South Side, where DeStefano and several unknown personages brutalized Jackson with a cattle prod from which he was suspended from a hook, where he eventually died 3 days later after lapsing in and out of unconsciousness. On August 11th, his lifeless and nude body was found stuffed into the trunk of his Cadillac. One thing I would like to point out, Jackson had never become an informant, but he was approached by the FBI. In 1965, DeStefano was convicted of conspiracy and sentenced to 3 to 5 years in prison. On February 22nd of 1972, DeStefano was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for threatening the life of a witness. The witness was mobster-turned-informant Chuck Grimaldi, who was an accomplice in the murder of Leo Foreman. DeStefano had a chance meeting with Grimaldi when he encountered him in the elevator of the Dirksen Federal Building in Chicago and allegedly threatened him. DeStefano and his underworld associates were eventually indicted for the Foreman murder. DeStefano had raised a large amount of public interest with his bizarre antics and his erratic behavior. Some of his bizarre antics included making demands to represent himself, dressing in pajamas, shouting through a bullhorn, and rambling incoherently. DeStefano then started displaying similar behavior in the Foreman trial. The outfit bosses began to worry that DeStefano was not only jeopardizing his own defense, but also the defense of his other crew members. In a secret sit-down meeting, the bosses gave DeStefano's crew permission to kill him. On April 14th of 1973, DeStefano was to meet with his crew in the garage of his West Side Austin neighborhood home in the 1600 block of North Sayre Avenue. Before the meeting was to take place, it is rumored that Anthony Spilatro allegedly entered the garage and shot DeStefano at point-blank range with a shotgun, hitting him twice, once in the chest and the other slug tearing off his right arm at the elbow, instantly killing him before he even hit the pavement.